Hola! Today I won't be talking about a specific series or a certain manga, but I want to answer some questions that I personally get and that I see that people have concerning reading manga in Japanese. Of course, a lot of these questions are by people who are beginners either or want to learn Japanese. So I wanted to kind of make a comprehensive video where I answer these questions that I get as best as I can, because I get tired of answering the same thing over and over again. And the first thing I want to say is that in my personal experience, the people who learn Japanese exclusively for manga or in general exclusively for one special purpose are the ones that give up the most easily. And this is by no means meant to encourage anybody, that's just my personal observation. I think people often underestimate what it takes to actually know a language. It's not just taking a class a few hours a week and then boom, you're fluent. The language you learn becomes a pretty big part of your life since you have to immerse yourself in it. And this is exactly where I feel not many people are willing to do that. So it really helps if you have a passion or interest for the culture, whatever language you want to learn, really. If you have an interest in the culture, in the people, and in the language itself. Oh yeah, if manga is one of the many things that interest you, say about Japan in this case, then they can be a great tool to study, I think. So one of the questions I get the most is, of course, how long does it take until you're able to read Japanese? And that it really depends on you. I mean, in theory, you could be able to learn kana and kanji in like maybe half a year or a year, you know, but the thing is, even if you're able to read it fluently, you still have to know what it is you're reading, right? So of course, you have to learn vocabulary, grammar, everything. And that brings me to my next point or question, and that is, when should you start reading? And in my opinion, you should start reading from the beginning. As soon as you got Furigana down, do it. No, you won't understand anything at first, but you'll get used to reading it and it will increase your speed. Personally, I regret having started to read so late during my studies. So yes, as soon as you got Furigana down, start reading. And a lot of people think that it's enough to learn just that, and they wonder if it's even necessary to learn kanji, and to that I say yes. Because first of all, not all manga have Furigana, and second, reading kanji makes everything so much easier to read. You will do yourself a huge favor by learning kanji. Furigana is very useful, of course, but it's sometimes very small, especially if you read the bunko editions. It's kind of hard to make out sometimes, so it's not a good idea to rely only on Furigana. And the same goes for low quality scans, you know, like, let's be real, of course we're gonna read some scans as well. So I really recommend learning kanji as much as you can, as soon as you can. And there are several different methods on how to learn kanji, and I'll just mention Anki here and leave it at that. And the same goes for grammar, you know, there are so many different methods on how to study grammar or any language basically, and you can find a lot of videos on YouTube. There are so many good videos that really teach you how to start a language from scratch and how to immerse yourself, you know. And it's also, of course, trial and error, because everybody's very different. Everybody's approach to learning in general is very different. Some people are visual learners, some people need audio, and you know, it really depends on you. And if you've studied any language before, you probably already know what works best for you. And just so yeah, go with that if it works. If you found a method that works for you, then definitely stick to that. But if you haven't found your way, then just try different things and see where it takes you. In any case, Furigana is still very useful, because even when you know kanji and you're more advanced, you won't know the reading to every single word you come across, of course. And especially in the beginning, you should definitely read only manga with Furigana. Which brings us to the next question. Which manga have Furigana and which don't? So to make this short, basically everything that's serializing in a shonen or shoujo oriented magazine has Furigana. Works that are targeted towards more mature or older audiences usually don't have them unless it's maybe a rare name or a rare reading, or you know, if they use kanji when usually you'd use hiragana or something like that, then you'd have the reading, but usually the rest just doesn't have it. So everything from like Shonen Jump, for example, has the readings, but other stuff like, for example, Berserk doesn't have it. And if you're still not certain if a manga has Furigana or not, you can look it up on Bookwalker or whatever, anything that has previews of the digital editions, then just look it up there and you'll know. Or yeah, check some scans or whatever. But now that we know all of this, what are good manga for beginners? What I tell people all the time is that it's best to read manga that are set in the real world and that deal with like real life situations, because I don't think it's very productive to read, let's say, lawyer stories or manga that is set in some historical period with a completely different language when you've just started to talk about your hobbies, you know? As a concrete example, I'd like to use Yotsubato. The main character is a child, so her language is very simple, and of course she has a lot of questions, so adults need to explain things to her, and they also, when they explain things to her, their language is also very simple. And also you should find something that really interests you, that you can sort of connect with other hobbies. For example, if you like basketball, you should read manga that have to do with basketball. That way you will also be able to talk about your hobbies in that language, or in Japanese. One last advice I'd like to give you is don't buy a bunch of volumes to motivate you. Just buy one. I see so many people or like posts on Reddit or wherever where they buy a bunch of stuff and like spend I don't know how many hundreds of dollars on Japanese manga and then they say like, yeah, I bought them to motivate me, I hope this is gonna help me and whatnot. But the reality is that you don't end up actually studying. They will look nice on your shelf and you will probably never open them, you know? So it's kind of like buying clothes one size smaller for the day, you know, your diet finally paid off, and we all know that's not how it works. So yeah, I'd personally recommend just buying one volume of whatever series you chose, and if you're comfortable reading that volume, then you can buy more. I hope this video doesn't sound super negative or like discouraging, because I definitely want to encourage everyone to learn, because I think reading things in their original language is just a totally different experience, and especially in Japanese, I think, because there's so many nuances that just get lost in translation, and it can't be helped, you know, it's just what happens, that's just translating. But I think it's way more fun that way. I think it's way more fun to read how it was intended, you know, like how it was, in which language it was conceived. So yeah. And again, it's definitely doable. It's not something that is like some super big deal. Just keep going at your own pace and just do it. The best advice I can give you is to just start learning and just do it. And yeah, that's basically everything I usually tell people when they ask me for advice or you know, ask me in general why I read manga in Japanese only. So I hope this was a little helpful at least. Yeah, next week, business as usual. I'll be talking about a manga. I already know which one. So I hope everybody has a great day and that everyone's safe. The world is crazy. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next week. Bye bye.